So before we begin our opening ceremony, that was just a performance for our foreign guests. The first you saw was the fan dance, and the second was the drum dance, and the third was the flower dance. I hope you enjoyed Korea's traditional, beautiful dance before we begin the opening ceremony in earnest. I would like to introduce myself, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ju Yun Cho, and I have been given the honor of being the Master of Ceremonies for the opening ceremony of the 15th World Forestry Congress. Thank you very much, and it is indeed an honor to be hosting such a distinguished group of delegates. Thank you very much. Indeed, it is an honor as well as a pleasure to be hosting all of our distinguished guests from overseas in person. Of course, for those of you who could not attend in person, we have those online as well. The 15th World Forestry Congress is a forestry festival which takes place every 6 years. Originally, it was slated to be held last year in 2021. However, we did have to postpone the Congress due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. And since the inaugural Congress in 1926, it has become the most influential international forestry event to discuss the present and the future of forests. The Congress this year will take place for 5 days, starting today, going on until May 6th, to talk and share ideas on ways to overcome the pandemic, as well as achieve the Sustainable Development Goals through international cooperation. The theme of this year is, of course, building a green, healthy, and resilient future with forests. As the COVID-19 pandemic sweeps the world, it is deemed necessary, indeed, to discuss forests in relation to what role they can play in creating a green and healthy future. Over the course of the next 5 days, we hope that experts, academics, as well as the civil sector will be able to discuss and come up with fruitful ideas for a better future for us all and the next generation. Esteemed guests, we will soon begin our opening ceremony and the long-awaited Congress. We ask for your patience, and we will soon begin. Thank you very much. Please take your seats. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome His Excellency President Moon Jae-in of the Republic of Korea to the opening ceremony hall. Please welcome him with a big round of applause. We are truly honored that Mr. President is joining us to celebrate the opening of the 15th World Forestry Congress here in Seoul. Please welcome him once again with a warm round of applause. Thank you very much.
지켜봐요. 우린 그럴 때마다 행복해져요. 숲의 이야기 들어봐. 우리들은 살고 싶어요. 조금만 더 아껴주세요. 우리들을 아프게 하지 말아요. 숲이 아파한다면 지나치지 않아요. 작은 씨앗 심을 때 모두 행복해져요. 우리 함께 한다면 사라질 일 없어요. 맑은 공기 속에서 하하 옥옥 웃어요. Plant trees, plant flowers for a healthy forest. Save the forest. I want to keep you green. There's a place you want to go. There's a place you're dreaming of. There's a place that nice in spring. There's a place you're dreaming of. There's a place that nice in spring. There's a place you're dreaming of. There's a place that's full of life. There's a place with happiness in our happy forest land.
Please give another big round of applause for the beautiful performance delivered by Dot Mill. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you enjoyed that performance as much as I did. That was a beautiful media performance along with the scale of this LED screen. Personally, this is one of the biggest screens that I have ever seen, and the graphics were truly amazing as well. It was a very impressive stage, and the media art as well as the beautiful voices of the children were in perfect harmony. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce myself once again. My name is Ju-Yan Cho, and I have been given the honor of being your Master of Ceremonies for the opening ceremony for the 15th World Forestry Congress. Thank you very much for your attendance. Thank you very much. On behalf of the organizers, I would like to welcome you all who are here today in person at the 15th World Forestry Congress opening ceremony, the most influential international forestry event, where we will discuss the present and future of forests. Then, without further ado, let us begin the opening ceremony. First and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to invite the welcome remarks of Honorable Minister Choi Byung-am of the Korea Forest Service. Please welcome him with a big round of applause.
존경한
Honorable President Moon Jae-in of the Republic of Korea, Her Royal Highness Princess Basma bint Ali of Jordan, Director General of the FAO Chi Dong-wi, distinguished delegates from countries around the world, and guests joining online, I would like to express my deepest gratitude. There are thousands of people joining this Congress from around the world online. I wholeheartedly welcome all of you. I would also like to extend my gratitude to all of the distinguished delegates for attending this opening ceremony of the 15th World Forestry Congress. I would also like to express my gratitude to FAO's leadership and collaboration in organizing this wonderful event. The World Forestry Congress is one of the most important events in the forest sector, where international community gathers to discuss the role of forests in overcoming global crises such as climate change, biodiversity loss, and desertification. Starting from today, the 5-day conference will be joined by around 12,500 people from 144 countries, including not only forestry specialists, those from academia, governments, international organizations, businesses, civil societies, but also future generations. All the participants will join various discussions under the theme of building a green, healthy, and resilient future with forests. Starting from the opening ceremony, the Congress will feature high-level dialogue, Ministerial Forum on Financing for Forests, Ministerial Forum on Sustainable Wood, as well as special events, sub-theme sessions, and side events that strengthen forest cooperation. Today, the humanity is facing a life-threatening climate crisis. Climate crisis is posing a threat to not only the humans, but also all lives on the planet. As the opening media art performance showed, very big flames symbolizing wildfires. Korea saw a large-scale wildfire in the eastern coast of Gangwon and North Gyeongsang Province this March. I had been at the front line of the fire scene for 10 days to keep the fire under control, and it was an extreme situation. Furthermore, extreme events such as winter droughts and high temperature lead to more frequent and intense wildfires. Climate change is no longer a distant future, but it is right here. Distinguished guests, I hope that the 15th World Forestry Congress will serve as a meaningful opportunity to advance international discussions on the climate crisis one step further and present tangible vision to countries that are vulnerable to climate change and those committed to restoring forests. On the other hand, humanity has also been suffering from the COVID-19 pandemic over the past 2 years. Scientists are warning that deforestation and biodiversity loss are making pandemics more likely and more frequent. I believe that one of the solutions to the pandemic lies in forests. The Korea Forest Service has been running a forest program to help healthcare workers, disease control officials, and general public recover their emotional and physical health from the pandemic. Also, the Korea Forest Service supported livelihoods of people by implementing public employment projects in the forest sector. Well-managed forests can contribute to restoring our economies and health affected by the pandemic. Forests act as a shield, preventing further pandemics. Therefore, we should act now to restore and protect forests for our future generations. And we need to act now. As you are well aware, currently, forests cover 31% of the global land area. The United Nations goal is to raise forest cover to 34% by 2030. According to scientists, about 10,000 years ago, 57% of habitable land was covered by forests. Restoration of lost forests will present a solution to the 3 major crises, namely climate, ecology, and health crisis. However, unfortunately, the forest area has been on the decline. To reverse this trend, the UN General Assembly proclaimed 2021 to 2030 as the decade on ecosystem restoration, calling for action to restore nature. In addition, the Glasgow Leaders' Declaration on Forest and Land Use was endorsed to stop forest degradation by 2030. I hope that the 15th World Forestry Congress becomes an opportunity to strengthen our solidarity and cooperation in addressing deforestation and restoring forests and practicing sustainable development. The green and healthy future will become our reality if the world is committed to strengthening forest cooperation amid and bringing out practical vision through the 15th World Forestry Congress. I hope that the 15th World Forestry Congress becomes a memorable and meaningful event to all of the participants. Thank you.
Thank you once again, Minister, for your warm words of welcome, as well as your leadership throughout the years and in preparing for the Congress. Thank you very much for your kind words. And now we will move on to the message of the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, delivered by the Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to now direct your attention to the screen for the video.
Excellencies, dear friends, on behalf of the Secretary General, I'm pleased to greet the global forest community at the opening of the 15th World Forestry Congress. I thank the government and people of Republic of Korea for hosting this important gathering. Since the last Congress in 2015, recognition of the critical roles that forests of all types play in meeting the Sustainable Development Goals and achieving the Paris Agreement has gained much traction. The recent Glasgow Leaders' Declaration on Forests and Land Use has further underlined key transformative actions needed to safeguard forests and advance the 2030 Agenda. This Congress takes place right after the latest report of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which warns that the world is dangerously close to irreversible tipping points. Forests are essential for the health of people and the planet. They support resilient livelihoods, biodiversity conservation, sustainable economies, and climate mitigation and adaptation. Yet forests remain under threat. In the last decade alone, the world has lost 4.7 million hectares a year. We must better recognize and act on the value of forests. Hence the theme of the Congress, building a green, healthy, and resilient future with forests. We need all stakeholders to come up with ideas and commitments that can be put into action. First, by increasing public finance to protect our forests, including through results-based payments and debt for environment swaps, and aligning policies and budgets with forest commitments. Second, by achieving deforestation-free supply chains. And third, by expanding indigenous governance of forests, incorporating the perspectives of youth and women, and using the latest scientific evidence and cutting-edge technologies. I look forward to the outcomes of this Congress, feeding into the climate change and biodiversity negotiations and other policy fora. Together, I believe we can build a green, healthy, and resilient future by realizing the true value of forests. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Secretary General Guterres, as well as the Deputy Secretary General Mohammed, for delivering that message. Thank you for highlighting the importance of international cooperation in safeguarding forests as well. This year, ladies and gentlemen, we are also honored to welcome Her Royal Highness Princess Batma bint Ali of Jordan for the 15th World Forestry Congress. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Her Royal Highness for her opening remarks.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين وخاتم النبيين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Your Honorable President, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to be with you here in the 15th World Forestry Congress in Seoul. Please allow me to extend my warmest congratulations to everyone on the occasion of Eid al-Fitr. It is the feast which marks the celebration of the end of the holy fasting month of Ramadan. I would also like to thank all of my Muslim colleagues who left their families and have come during this holy event in our Hijri calendar. Our participation here illustrates our commitment and dedication to the UN Secretary General's call to turn the tide on deforestation. Thus, as we set the global agenda for a sustainable, resilient future in the throes of climate change, and as we forge forward into the decade of restoration and embody the hashtag Generation Restoration, we must be cognizant of the urgency of this situation. It is our collective responsibility as global citizens to work cohesively to turn the tide. Forests, woodlands play a critical role in this agenda, and in nature-based solutions, particularly where genetic diversity is prioritized, because it helps build resilience, allowing for a tremendous potential in the adaptation and mitigation of climate change. In fact, ecological restoration methods are as diverse as nature itself. This diversity actually stems from the underlying value attached to the restoration's rationale, be it historical fidelity, modernist, regulatory, pragmatic, ecocentric, or even the value of moral restitution, and everything in between. Furthermore, there is not only one single method of restoration, because what may work in one area may not do so in another. We must diversify our approach to ensure a higher rate of success. Hence, a mosaic of various methodologies to restoration would be more viable and feasible. It has been estimated that of the global forests, 30% have been cleared and another 20% have been degraded. Accordingly, in COP26, leaders of over 100 countries, which have 85% of forest cover, have promised to stop deforestation. Given that the Glasgow Declaration is not legally binding, it requires a truly dedicated political will to self-police and to develop policy measures and mobilize the required financial support, in addition to engaging all stakeholders, most notably indigenous peoples and local communities, for they possess the traditional knowledge and are the custodians of these ecosystems, coupled with the scientific experts who can monitor and assess the progress and adjust accordingly, as it is a very dynamic process. Furthermore, we must acknowledge the impact healthy, functioning forests have on food security. For example, in Western Asia, an area not usually associated with forest, yet is benefiting from several ecosystem services of its forests and woodlands. First, provisioning, as it sits in the Fertile Crescent, containing economically important plants, and are blessed with a high number of crop wild relatives, and to name a few, like wheat, rye, barley, apricot, apple, pistachio, almond, and our most beloved and blessed olive tree. In addition to grazing, which also falls into cultural services, as the pastoral life is a very important part of our cultural heritage. But to put things more into perspective, the regulating service which our forests and woodlands provide are unequivocally critical, affording land stabilization and watershed protection and desertification control, because nearly 75% of the area is arid and hyper-arid, and it is part of the globe which is most affected by climate change. The Near East and North Africa has witnessed a decline in its per capita availability of renewable water resources by nearly 75%, from 2,681 meters cubed to 686 cubic meters between 1962 and 2017, and with an estimated projection to decline to a further 548 cubic meters in 2030, which is in 8 years, the very same 8 years left for achieving our decade for restoration, and a further 429 cubic meters in 2050. This must prompt us to push towards transforming agriculture and food systems into sustainable supply chains, ultimately having green pathways to growth within a long-term perspective. Lastly, we must be very wary not to rely solely on restoration as a go-to band-aid mechanism, or rather crutch, to placate our half-hearted commitment to our children's future. On the contrary, it's imperative that we diligently protect and conserve what remaining forests and non-degraded landscapes there are, and manage them properly. It is crucial that we understand the urgency of the matter. Mr. President, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we do not have the luxury of time, but what we do have is an opportunity to make the change. In today's 15th World Forestry Congress, I urge each and every one of you to consider what kind of world will you be leaving to your own children and grandchildren. We have seen and lived through many severe weather anomalies, and each year the boundaries of what is considered extreme gets pushed further and further. It is real and it is fierce. Accordingly, it is our duty as stewards of the earth to ensure we hand over a thriving earth with functioning ecosystems that can support our children's children's children. And what more precious a gift can we give them than this? I look forward to the coming days as we gather your expertise and cumulative knowledge to put into action what we set out to achieve within the next 8 years. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Your Highness. Her Highness has been a strong advocate of the protection and safeguarding of forests, and we could definitely feel her love of forests through her speech. Thank you once again for your kind remarks. And now, ladies and gentlemen, President Magdalena Jovanovic of the International Forestry Students Association will deliver a congratulatory remarks as a representative of the youth. Please give her a warm round of applause.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Magdalena Jovanovic, and I'm very pleased to have this opportunity to speak to you on behalf of the International Forestry Student Association in my capacity as president, but also on behalf of many young forestry students who are just starting out in the forestry sector. This is an enormous opportunity for many of us, youth included, to be in the center of forest-related discussions, to expand knowledge and connections, to meet people who are working in the forestry sector, to share experiences, and I really hope that you're just as excited as we are to be part of such an important occasion. I have to say that when I was approached with this opportunity to give the speech at the opening ceremony, I was quite pleasantly surprised, but at the same time, I was very pleased to hear that our inputs as young people are now considered to be a valuable resource and a contribution to the forestry sector. Because after all, we have to keep in mind that young people, both students and young professionals, are the future of the forestry sector. Yet oftentimes our voice is not heard, even if we're trying to contribute. And as IFSA, we aim to provide opportunities to students to be able to actively participate in the forestry sector, as well as to enrich the education of young people. In particular, I would like to announce the Youth Forest Policy Day that IFSA is organizing in collaboration with Forest Europe, as well as other international partners, which will take place on December 1st and 2nd. And our main motivator and our main driver when organizing such events in IFSA is to really increase the knowledge of young people. And with this event, we really aim to increase the knowledge of young people in international forest policy processes, as well as to support young people to develop their practical skills. And this is why the World Forestry Congress is such a unique opportunity. It brings together countries, organizations, professionals, and students from across the world. But most of all, it brings together people who are working towards the same goal, and that is better forests for a better future. It has created a space for young people to learn, to network, to meet others, to share, and I can say that no education can ever replace the experience that we are getting here today. By providing us a space to express ourselves, you motivate us, you encourage us, you inspire us, but most of all, you really enable us to take the leading role. The things that we will learn here in the next few days will be irreplaceable for us, and on behalf of all forestry students, we are truly thankful to be part of this occasion. Thank you very much.
Let's give President Jovanovic another big round of applause for her meaningful speech. She was shedding light on acting and practicing now for the future generation. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we will invite to the stage Director General Chu Dong-wi of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations for his keynote speech. He will be speaking on the role of forestry for a sustainable development. Please welcome him with a big round of applause.
Your Excellencies, Honorable President Moon Jae-in of the Republic of Korea, Your Royal Highness Princess Basma Bin Ali, the Honorable Ministers Chon Bo-eum of the Korea Forest Service, ladies and gentlemen, good morning from Seoul. Dear colleagues, first of all, I'd like to convey my appreciation to President Moon Jae-in and the government of the Republic of Korea for hosting the 15th World Forestry Congress, to co-organize it with FAO, and the theme, building a green, healthy, and resilient future with the forestry. Second, I send my best regards to the Muslim brothers and sisters, because after long months of Ramadan months, now it's time for you to celebrate. But I'm so delighted you come to Seoul in person, celebrate with us on the better forestry, better future. Thank you all. This Congress is convening in the Asia-Pacific region again, since it was held in Indonesia 43 years ago. It is also the first time ever since inception in 1926 that the World Forest Congress is held in a hybrid model, allowing thousands of people to participate from all the corners of the world. Of course, after 2 years pandemic, I saw so many audience in person in this convention center of Korea. More than 35,000 participants in person here. I really appreciate local organizers and all the efforts you made together with FAO colleagues around the world, and strongly supported by the peoples of Korea and the government, especially under strong leadership of President Moon. The 15th World Forest Congress is the biggest global forum to enhance knowledge and experience, as well as collaboration among leaders, policymakers, experts, and foresters, linking forestry to the other sectors and to the key partners from the globe. The Congress comes after a series of global fora following on the UN Food System Summit that highlighted how the agri-food system contributed to achieving all the Sustainable Development Goals. And after COP26 in Glasgow, that emphasized the importance of forestry and land use for accelerate climate action. Forests are our key partners for achieving the objectives of 2030 Agenda, combating diversification, achieving food security, and improving livelihood, etc. The global forest goals, the Paris Agreement, the UN Decade of Ecosystem Restoration, and the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework, among others. This is the important message to be carried to the important global meetings of Rio conventions and other global fora, where the decision will be made on the future of the planet and its people, to ensure that the forests are the integral part of the solutions of current and future challenges. In this regard, I wish to thank Her Royal Highness Princess Basma bin Ali of Jordan and FAO Regional Goodwill Ambassador for Near East and North Africa, who is with us today as a champion for forestry, advocating for the sustainable future of our forests. The World Forest Congress truly put the forest without boundaries into the practice by hand in hand as it brings together government, indigenous peoples, local communities, research organizations, and academia, civil society organizations, and the private sector, including small business on the ground, especially young generation come together. The Republic of Korea is recognized for taking successful and bold action to safeguard its natural resources, to benefit sustainable development, and improve the livelihood of people. This Congress comes at the time humanity faced multiple, interconnected, and often overlapping challenges: climate crisis, pandemics, and soaring food prices, which are hitting the poorest the hardest as they face a greater exposure to the negative impacts. Today, more than 800 million people still suffering from hunger, and 3 billion cannot afford a health debt. Forests can play the key role in restoring ecosystems with the aim of a better life for all. FAO has identified 3 interrelated pathways for forests and trees to support the economic and environmental recovery. First, by halting the deforestation and maintaining forests. Second, by restoring degraded land and expanding agroforestry. And third, by sustainable using forests and building green value chains. In this aspect, I really applaud to all the performance before this opening ceremony by the friends from Korea, and really integrate all the imagination and the future expectation for our planet by the young kids, by the young generation, and by the arts. That's really bring together what is happiness in harmonized society. Forests remove and store carbon from the atmosphere. That means that the forest sector must be an integral part of the climate change mitigation and adaptation strategies. We need to end the unsustainable consumption and production pattern that are jeopardizing our forests. We must turn the tide of the deforestation. We must work to restore 1.5 billion hectares of degraded land and forestry, and increase the tree cover to boost agricultural productivity on another 1 billion hectares. We must better conserve, manage, and sustainably use the forest biodiversity. From the biodiversity to food diversity, I hope you can enjoy the food diversity from Korea, from Asia, from indigenous people. We live on generations to come. And we must transform agro-food system to be more efficient, more inclusive, more resilient, and more sustainable. And above all, we must promote a model where the forest support agriculture and agriculture support the forest. Together, agriculture and the forest can also play the fundamental role in the development of new renewable materials and products, as well as innovative approaches to landscape and value chains benefiting both people and the planet. Dear colleagues and friends, forests benefit us all by offering important ecosystem services and economic opportunities. The forest sector alone provides direct employment of an estimated 33 million people globally. The vast majority of the world territory's biodiversity is found in forests. Forests provide food, medicine, wood, fuel, and recreation. And they are a source of physical and spiritual health. I know in Korea, if you find a good place with a forest, it's a good place to seek a Taoist and the Chang. So you can really practice your psychological calming down and mitigation. Together, we can unleash the potential of forests and trees through a triple approach on the conservation, restoration, and the sustainable use of forests to ensure better production, better nutrition, a better environment, and a better life for all, leaving no one behind. To achieve this vision, we need to share the data, innovation, best practice, and technology. We must boost the investment and ensure appreciation financial resources and instruments. Small and medium-scale producers make up 80 to 90% of enterprises in forest sector and can contribute significantly to a resilient economy yet they received less than 2% of global climate financial. We need bold and ambitious action, just as we saw with the Global Forest Financial Pledging at the last UN Climate Conference. There is no time to lose. We must act now in an efficient, effective, and coherent manner. Let us build a green, healthy, resilient future with the forest for all, live in a city with forestry, in a village surrounded by the forestry. That's our future. That's our commitment for the generation to come. I thank you. Thank you all. Best regards.
Thank you once again for your remarks, Director General. He truly showed how the role and potential of forestry can be helpful for sustainable development. Thank you once again, Director General, for your remarks. As you may well know, the theme of the 15th World Forestry Congress is Building a Green, Healthy, and Resilient Future with Forests. And the Republic of Korea cordially invites you to have productive discussions at the Congress about the role and forest sector in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, now allow me to invite His Excellency President Moon Jae-in of the Republic of Korea for his keynote address. Please welcome Mr. President with a warm round of applause.
존경하는 요르단의 알리 공주님,
Her Excellency Basma bint Ali of Kingdom of Jordan, His Excellency Kyu Dong, Director General of FAO, distinguished guests from home and abroad, congratulations on the opening of the 15th World Forestry Congress. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome all of you to this Congress, both online and offline. Through COVID-19, we have once again realized the importance of coexistence with nature. Throughout the last 100 years, the World Forestry Congress has led the way for afforestation and the utilization of forests. For the first time after COVID-19, we have experts in forestry gathered from around the world here today. We are here to plan for the next 100 years of resilient forests. Distinguished participants from around the world, forest in itself is a living ecosystem. It is a habitat for 80% of plants and animals. It is where the natural resources lie. We need to remember the living ecosystem of the forest. And through the forest, we earn food, fuel, as well as energy and resources. And imagination inspired by nature has created culture, art, and religions. Forests, which is a source of life, are disappearing from Earth. 4.7 million hectares disappear every year from our Earth. This is 80 times the size of Seoul, the capital of Korea. During the last 30 years, 180 million hectares of forest have disappeared. This is 8 times the territory of the Korean peninsula. Forests are living carbon sinks, and it is where the water exists that has accelerated climate change. And now we see more contact between wild animals and people, which has translated into difficulties such as COVID-19 and other communicable diseases. This is also impacting life on Earth. We need to make sure that we protect our forest, and this is something that we must all do as a people on Earth. We need to create a sustainable future for the next generation. Last November, 141 countries gathered in Glasgow, and they have signed the Global Forest Financing Pledge to make an effort to protect and restore forests by 2030. Now is the time to add details to our plan and put our plans into action. We need to give up our everyday habits and also transform our economy to make these goals come true. It will not be easy. But as we take care of our forests, we need to make sure that we create new jobs and new resources. This is the only way that we can continue to facilitate sustainable support for our plans. Advanced countries and emerging countries must all walk hand in hand. We need to make sure that we move away from the existing practices of taking down forests for industrial purposes. And for the emerging countries, this could be a difficult goal to achieve. For advanced countries, they have already conducted development and urbanization, and so it may be difficult to expand their forests. We need to make sure that we have a sustainable future together with forests and people living in co-prosperity. We need to understand the situations of the advanced countries and emerging countries and also shoulder the burden together. Distinguished guests from home and abroad, the people of Korea has gone through war and colonization. We have had the difficult past of having our forest destroyed because of war. We have seen the depleted forest, and we have realized the importance of forest in our everyday lives. And against the backdrop of this realization, we actually planted more than 10 billion trees across the nation. Through the FAO, ever since World War II, we have heard the recognition that we are the only country to succeed in afforestation after World War II. Through cooperation, Korea has the experience of reviving our forests, and we will certainly take part in the international efforts to protect our forest and restore forest. First, we will contribute to financing. By 2030, we will double our ODA. In particular, ODA in forestry will also be expanded in line with this increase. Last year, we have signed the Global Forest Financing Pledge, and we actually will implement the promised $60 million. And we will continue to support sustainable utilization of forest resources. We also participate in the restoration of the mangrove forest in Vietnam, and this will contribute to creating green farming technologies using mangrove forests. The revived forest will provide nutrition for green farming, and it will also create new jobs for the local community. The local community will continue to support the protection of forests because it ensures their income. We will go beyond simple financing. We will continue to support local communities so that they may live within resilient forests. We will also work on new cooperation such as agroforestry and the creation of recreational forests. And third, we will continue to work on afforestation within the Korean Peninsula. In Korea, we have announced the net zero goal for 2050, and as one of the measures to achieve this net zero goal, we have the goal to double our forest land. We will plant trees on idle land, and we will take care of urban forest to expand forest land. In particular, we will plant more trees, and we will continue to create a circular economy using forests by planting commercial forests as well as recreational forests. In Korea, many Korean companies are participating in ESG management, which has propelled them in the direction of afforestation and forest management. There are many Korean companies who wish to participate in afforestation projects overseas. Through public-private partnership, we wish to create a best practice for afforestation to share with the global community. Secretary General Chu Dong-yu, distinguished guests from home and abroad. 200 kilometers from here, there is the city of Donghua, and in there we have the Seed Vault. This is one of the 2 that exist in the world. This vault can resist nuclear weapons as well as natural disasters. It is like the modern version of Noah's Ark to protect seeds. Within the seed vault, we have about 60,000 seeds of not only wild trees and plants, but inside there is the dream of everyone for the future generations' forest. If we can gather together all of our hearts for a better future through green forest, we believe that we can create a resilient future together. Let us gather our wisdom to accelerate our action for the future. The 15th World Forestry Congress, I believe, will be a great starting point. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President, for your remarks, for your insight and leadership. We do hope that this Congress can serve as an opportunity for the forestry sector to take a step further to respond to climate crisis. Thank you once again for your kind remarks as well. And thank you once again for all of our VIP speakers who have delivered your congratulatory remarks and your welcome remarks. Excellencies, distinguished guests, this marks the end of the opening ceremony of the 15th World Forestry Congress. Once again, we would like to sincerely thank all of our guests for your attendance with us here in person as well as online. We will now take a short moment to take a commemorative photo of our Mr. President as well as the speakers of the opening ceremony. So with that, I would like to invite our excellencies up onto the stage for a group photo. Please join us up on stage. So for the group photo, we will have our masks on for the group photo. Thank you very much for your cooperation. Please smile for the camera in front of you. And for the audience, please give them a big round of applause. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your cooperation. You may now return to your seats. Thank you. Esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Republic of Korea will now be leaving the hall. Please give him another big round of applause for his presence. Thank you very much.